What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Volleyball Source podcast. And today we have a very, very special guest on the show. We have one of the greatest Canadian university volleyball players of all time joining us from Italy, where he's wrapping up his rookie season with Ravenna. We've got Mr. Eric Loeppky. Eric, welcome to the show. How's it been? It's been just over a year since I've seen you last, and a lot's changed since then.
Yeah, thanks, Everett. It's good to be here. It's been a while. When was the last time we saw each other?
It would have been Canada West semifinals last year.
Right,
Uh,
you were out shooting some stuff. I
Yeah,
remember that.
I saw you guys beat Brandon, and then expected to see you guys in Winnipeg, and that's kind of when everything kind of went down. But we can talk about that later. First of all, like how are you? How are you doing? How's the body holding up? You just finished your first year of pro. Congratulations. So how are
Thank
things?
you. Things are good, man. Yeah, it was a crazy year just with COVID and everything, and then being my first year overseas. It was a lot, like just a lot of change from having kind of like a similar year in rhythm to like university and national team, and then going to pro. And yeah, it was a lot of change this year, but body's holding up good. And it was for sure an adjustment to the load and stuff, just a lot different, but doing good. Yeah, I'm doing really good.
Now you said you had training today. Is your team still competing at all? Because you just finished your playoff series with Moda. You guys unfortunately lost 2-0 to them, so your season is done. But you guys are still training.
Yeah, so there's this thing, there's like a qualification kind of tournament for a Challenge Cup that's happening in April.
Okay, yeah.
So it's with the bottom teams of Italy. So we have to wait for the other quarters to happen to find out who's going to all be in that. So we're just training and waiting like at least another 3 weeks, I think, right now.
Okay, fair enough. But it's a bit of a lighter load, I'm guessing, right now than it was during the season. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We got like half a week off and then kind of just been kind of hitting the weight season and the thing. So it's been pretty nice.
How was like this year you played for Ravenna? You guys had a very young team. Especially the core of outsides was a very young team with Ricine and Pinali. How was it, coming into play in the Italian SuperLega? Not many Canadians have been able to say that they've stepped right from uSport to the SuperLega. It's basically just you and Stephen Mara on the men's side. So how was it making that step straight from Canada to the SuperLega?
Oh man, it was cool. It was honestly like it took me a little bit to adjust being like, okay, like I'm not watching like what I still do, but for a while I was just watching these guys on YouTube, and like they have no idea who I am, but I know who all these guys are. And so that was a big adjustment. But I think it was great with the young team. Like I feel like we're all like for the most part in the same kind of spot. Like we're just young guys trying to prove ourselves in the league. So it made for like a good training environment. And then we had some older leaders too, like our setter, Redwitz, and our libero was pretty experienced in one of our middles. So it was a good like balance, I would say, like with young guys just trying to like prove themselves in the league and in a really good league, and then some older guys to kind of lead the way. So yeah, it was awesome.
What was your kind of like welcome to the show moment?
Oh man. Well, my first like scrimmage, like first practice scrimmage was against Perugia. So that
Okay.
was like a pretty like, okay, like I'm in Perugia, I'm playing these guys, like I'm one of like these guys now. It was that's got to be the first one because like it's just a scrimmage and most of the guys are like, oh yeah, scrimmage, like want to get this going, like it'll be fun to play. But I'm like, man, like that's like Wilfredo Leon over there, and he's like, I've never seen him in person before, so this is pretty crazy. But I have to play also, so it was it was fun. That was probably my first like wow. And then honestly, like every time we like suited up, it was like just so surreal. But then as the season went on, I started to feel just more and more comfortable, I think. Um, but for sure, the first scrimmage against Bruges, I was like, okay, this is crazy, but I'm all in for it. So,
What was it like the first time you were in serve receive when Leon was serving?
oh man, no man, yeah, a couple of those first games too. Like it was Leon, and then that was just a scrimmage. But the first like game that I got to play in an actual jersey was against Piacenza. So I was like playing Grozer,
Oh,
and he was serving, and I was like, man, like this guy's like had the record for hardest serve for a while now. I don't know if he still does. Maybe Leon or Zaitsev passed him, but he's
still
got a crazy serve.
he's still one of the hardest swingers in the world by far. He
Yeah.
may have lost a step, but he's still up there for sure. He still has that shoulder.
Oh yeah. But I just remember being so like low, dug in, arms out, just like just pop it up, just pop it up, just pop it up. Like that's all I'm thinking to myself. Um, yeah, but then it just kind of happens, and then you just kind of have natural instinct and react and play, and that's what I mean when it gets easier because it just kind of like starts to become second nature after like those first moments.
It did seem to me like watching you that at first you were just kind of feeling things out, and then as the
Mhm.
season progressed you were kind of like, okay, I can play at this level, and I can not only just play their style, but I can kind of start imposing my game a little bit onto it as well. Is that a fair assessment?
Totally, totally. Yeah. I would say like those first like that first maybe month of games, I was really like, okay, I can play at this level. And but I would often like kind of like fizzle out. Like I'd play a set really well and then wouldn't play well a set and then play the set really well. And it's like a big adjustment, I think, from like being in university at Trinity where we would have like we'd play Brandon and UBC in Alberta, and those would be like games we'd gear up for. But now it was like every practice and every game was like a really hard game. And like to play at that level, like the whole game was like a huge kind of change for me. So just really the endurance of the quality, I think it was the biggest thing. Um, yeah, that was like crazy.
It is that you think that was like the endurance is the biggest difference between playing university ball to playing in Italy for you anyways?
Yeah, not like the physical endurance, but more like the mental endurance, like
Okay, yeah,
being
yeah.
like fully engaged the whole time and like dialed in the whole time. Like there was like a lot of games where like at Trinity where like we didn't have to be fully dialed and we would still win and do well. Um, but like these games, like just being fully like mentally dialed, like every pass is like a bomb, every spike, I gotta be fully committed. Like I gotta know my assignments all the time. Like just those kind of things um, was just like next level and just constant and versus kind of choppy. So
It seemed very much like towards the end of the season as well that maybe some of your teammates were having trouble with that consistency and that you were really picking up. Did you really find that, you know, you were able to shoulder that load late in the season?
yeah, I think that was a real challenge for me in the last half there. I was like, okay, I'm starting to feel like I've got more of a load on this team and like I need to like step up and do this. And that yeah, that was really hard because um I just yeah, I'm not used to it. Like I was used to it on a much smaller level and then coming in here and I I honestly think I did okay, but I don't think I did great. I still think I could have done a lot better, but um yeah, and that's just also part of being on a young team. Like we're all kind of not used to taking a load on like at this level. Like we've all been kind of like shadowed, and a lot of these guys have played on good teams. Like Pinali was on Modena for like 3 4 years, but
Yep.
then now like he's like got to be the man. And then even this was Rechine's first year starting too, so it was all new to us, and I think we were just kind of feeling it out. So
Well, it seemed like you guys led the league in five setters, and
yeah,
it seemed like you guys were in it to battle at every single game. You guys definitely had an exciting brand of volleyball. That's for sure.
Yeah,
What do you think
yeah.
was like? What do you think was one of the biggest lessons that you learned early on?
Oh man, for sure. What I kind of just touched on with like the consistency of good quality play, that was huge. Another one, like more like technical lessons, was just like I gotta be like fully committed to everything. Like I can't just like do like a nice high 80% swing to the corner. Like I'm either I'll get dug and I'm only gonna score if I go all out. Um, and like all out, I don't mean just spiking. I mean also like all out, like wipes and tips and dunks and stuff. So that was a huge lesson, just like full committed to every shot.
You mentioned technically, like, what do you think technically is the biggest part of your game that you're going to need to work on? You know, after year one, you kind of reassess things, and you pin things out like, hey, I need to improve in this area for me to kind of take that next step next year.
Yeah, I think reception, like I obviously am always going to be working on that. Just to maybe like bring the aces down and get a little more dialed on like perfect passes. Um, but also I think for me to be next level, I need to score more consistently. I didn't have a lot of errors, but I had a decent amount of continues. Like I was getting dug or like just like recycled and stuff. So I need to make like just to keep figuring out more consistent ways to just like get kills. Like you look at all the good left sides in the league, like usually when they get set, they put the ball away, you know. So um, just kind of figuring out that role more, and um, yeah, that's probably my number one actually. Just more consistent with getting kills.
Do you tend to watch like when maybe not when you're playing the other guys, but now that you're playing the SuperLega, is there some guys that you're watching a little bit more closer, and to be like, I want to take away like this and this thing from his game, and I think he does these things very well.
Yeah, with that I've always tried to watch guys. Like obviously I watch all the guys, but I try to watch the guys who kind of resemble my like body type and like style of play. So I watch guys, even though he's a lefty, like Plutniski, I think he's swag, and I love how fast he plays and the
I
way he
agree.
spikes. Um, like I like watching like DeFalco, Rassard, even though he's also lefty. Like I like how those guys play, like Tilly, Ishikawa, like guys like that. Like I try to look at, and then even other leagues, I watch like Sander and Angapeth, um, those guys, just because I feel like I'm like, okay, like I feel like I have physical attributes that those guys have. So like I know I can actually do those things
Mhm.
versus like if I watch Leon spike, that's great, but I'm not going to be able to like spike like him. So I try to look for kind of resemblance.
That's fair. That's great. Do you think like you can play that you can get to those level like from what you've seen from yourself? It's just kind of like, yeah, I can do it what those guys do.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to take like it's going to take a lot of work on my part and just time, just adjusting, just keep getting more consistent and moving up. Like I think I improved already a lot this season, but I hope to have a good summer and work hard there and learn as much as I can with those guys, and then get back to it next year. So we'll see.
Before we talk about the summer and the national team and stuff like that, you mentioned DeFalco. Is there part of you that wishes that he was there playing for Long Beach when you guys played them at the Can-Am in 2019?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
part of me wishes that it was like their top team against your top team, because I don't know who would have won, but I think that it would have been a banger of a match.
yeah. Honestly, like just for like matchups, I think that tournament was a year too late. Like even that UCLA team with Micah Ma would have been sweet to play. Yeah, that would have been awesome. I think that would have been, there would have been a lot of cool athletes. There already was a lot of cool athletes there, but it would have been really cool.
Yeah, 1 year before with Ma on UCLA, and Tuniga and DeFalco with Long Beach.
Yeah.
That's a lot there. Speaking of Tuniga, you don't have to tell me, but there has been some rumors in the rumor mill that you will be joining Ted and joined Sleps next year in Poland. Is there any way that you can confirm or deny this?
Yeah, all I'm gonna say is I am still figuring out what I want to do next season.
All
So
right, fair enough. I mean, I didn't
yeah,
think you would tell me, but I had to ask.
no, man, you got to ask those questions.
Is that something that you are kind of like, like I how about this? Can I ask about, you getting signed with Ravena and how that process went? Because obviously
Hmm.
that was kind of one of your first processes of being a pro volleyball player. So how did it all go down? I'm assuming you have an agent.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So you're
Um,
go ahead.
okay. Yeah, it was tough because I have a really good agent. I have the same one as like Mar and those guys.
Yeah.
He's awesome, but he really wanted to get me like starting six in Italy or Poland. Like that was his goal.
Hmm.
So it was tough. It was really tough to get into Italy. It was kind of like Ravenna was honestly one of my only options as starting six. There's a couple options in Poland too, but I think we were just like pretty set on like, okay, like let's just like get tossed in there and see how we play.
Hmm.
And it was a little interesting though with the logistical side of things because um, they were dealing like with some stuff with their club and society. And when I originally signed my first contract, then like they got a new ownership and new president. So then I had to re-sign with some like new kind of obligations
Okay.
with the new owner and everything. So that was a little bit stressful. So I didn't actually get like fully signed until June, at the end of June.
Wow. Yeah, I was wondering
Um,
because it took you a while to kind of announce, and I would have figured
yeah,
that you would have been scooped up earlier than some of the other guys who were announcing. But that now, having heard that in retrospect, that makes a lot of sense.
yeah. So it was kind of just like we knew what club like we were going for, but we had to kind of wait on a lot of things. Um, so yeah, and then yeah, and then getting the visa and everything was so hard.
It
Um,
must have been so hard, especially with COVID-19 and all of that other stuff as well too.
yeah, man, that was really difficult. Like I ended up like I was emailing them like almost every day, like trying to get an appointment, and I was getting the same answers like, no, you can't unless it's an emergency, all this stuff. And I'm like trying to tell them my situation. And then finally my coach like reaches out to some Italian Olympic Committee guy. He contacts them and then they end up contacting me, telling me when I have an appointment. So I was like, okay, that was pretty cool. But um, like it took like I was emailing them for weeks, like, and I was getting nothing. And I like, so yeah, that was a little stressful too, but we made it work.
But you made it work. Are you happy that you started in Italy? Like, I mean, there's not
Yeah.
really a better league to start in. It's hands down the best league in the world.
Yeah. I'm super happy I started here. I think the biggest reason I really see myself and like compared to some of the best in the world. Like I can really have a clear visual of where I want to get to and see kind of what I need to do to get there. So I'm super happy that I got the chance to play here.
Do you think it's do do you do you really think it is the best league in the world now? After having spent a year in it?
Like I guess I like everyone says like, oh, it's the best, it's the best. But I haven't played anywhere else, so I can't really compare it other than to uSports, I guess. But um, yeah, I've heard it's the best in the world, like close to Russia and Poland, but Italy's like a pretty sweet country to live in. I think that also um, plays a huge part versus like playing in Russia or something.
At what point did you
So
start
I would
thinking?
say it's the best.
Yeah, that's fair. At what point did you start thinking that playing pro was a possibility for you? Like you know,
Oh
I've known
man,
you for a long time, and as long
yeah,
as you've been on my radar, you've been very good. You know, So like how long has that kind of been a thing that like, hey, like I want to go pro. I think I can do this.
The first time we met, I think, was 2014 Nationals, right? In Calgary.
Yeah, I think that's right.
You were, or maybe 15.
Yeah, no, it was 2015 Nationals in Calgary, and you won MVP of the 18U
2015.
national final as a 16U, I think, or a 17U.
Yeah, I was 17. I was 16, but and it's funny because Jesse, I think, did the same thing, um, but like age group lower.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
he was
remember
playing he
that,
was
and
playing up for Canuck stuff. Um, yeah, you're right.
yeah, um, but yeah, it feels like so long ago, and I think honestly, I always had a dream of playing pro, but I don't think I it turned into something that I thought could happen until I went to university, just because I was in high school, I was just so focused on like going to that level. I wasn't really thinking beyond that. And then once I was there in my first year, I was like, okay, like now I can start like focusing on the next level. Um, and I think like junior team helped with that too. Like being on junior team and seeing the senior guys train and just kind of getting a taste with that was huge too. And that was all around the same time. Um, my first summer at junior team was after my senior year, and then it went right into my first year at TWU. So I would say around that time was like kind of
Do,
where I was like, okay, I want to do this.
do you think playing at Trinity had an effect on that? Because let's be honest, like Trinity is a factory, right? Like
Yeah.
there's no other school that produces talent like Trinity Western right now.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, I cannot say that it wasn't a fact. I think it's a huge factor. Ben Joe's amazing. He basically like broke down all my skills and I relearned them. He yeah,
Well, didn't
he
didn't you
he
come
was he was
into
amazing.
didn't you come into Trinity as a setter?
I signed as a setter.
Oh,
I
okay.
signed as a setter. Um, no, I didn't. I was recruited as a setter. I
Okay.
signed as like maybe I'll set, maybe I'll hit, and then it kind of just like shifted into no, you're gonna hit. Um, and I was like, okay,
I couldn't imagine if you as a setter. I mean, I've seen you dish butter from the back row more than a few times. You know, that's definitely that move is definitely in your repertoire, jumping from the back row and dishing it. So I could see it. Did you ever chirp like Schreimer or Epp or something and be like, yo, I could do this. Just put me in there.
no, I don't think I tripped him ever, but when there was any opportunity to be a setter, I would like step up to the plate always because I just love it and I missed it. Like sometimes if one of our setters was gone, like I'd be like, "Yep, like let's go. I'll set. Like, can I set, please?" Ben would be like, "Yeah, sure, you can set."
do you
So
do you think that that benefited you as a hitter because you just understand that part of hitting much more? You understand the other side of it.
yeah, I think so. I think it really helped. I think I just it helped with like having a good understanding too. Like when I was a setter, like no one likes the hitter who's like super naggy all the time, like nagging the setter. So I didn't want to be that type of player as a hitter. Um,
I've
and then
I've always noticed your hitting is very patient. Like you don't demand a set in a certain spot. You always wait and then you go to the ball. And your ability to get to the ball is what allows you to have the multiple shots that you do in any given situation. So for me that makes sense that your ability as a setter kind of like it helps you break that down as a hitter, be more patient and be better.
thanks, I appreciate that. Um, yeah, I would say with getting to the ball, that's like a huge thing that Ben taught me that he calls the crossover step. Because I was originally like I loved beach too growing up. So I had a super like just kind of straight approach, very vertical, like just up, down, short, like even my spin serve used to be like a two-step toss. Um, and he was just he taught me just like how to jump onto the ball and just like be patient and like go get it and high point it versus like waiting it to come to you. Um, and yeah, that's like the biggest probably thing for attacking that Ben taught me was the crossover step. Um, but I guess for sure with the understanding thing of the setter that has a lot to do with it too, I guess. Um, yeah.
Fair enough. Um, you know, talking about Trinity Western, you guys had the potential of um, not winning. It would have been three in a row, but it would have been it would have been four championships in 5 years. Correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
That only that 1 year in the middle to UBC. Um, do you ever think about how was that just kind of going through the motions of being like, oh, we're not gonna get a chance to kind of finish this legacy last year when it kind of everything was shutting down?
Yeah, that was really tough, man. Like we wanted that all year. Like we were working towards that all year. We had such like a talented group and like an experienced group also. Like we knew we weren't gonna let like anything kind of really get in our way. So for us to not be able to like execute that at the end was just super super tough. I guess the only good thing is that like we didn't lose it to anyone, but um, still I would have loved to have the chance to play with those guys for one more weekend.
That that to me was the hardest part of it, is how many careers just kind of ended, like how many careers of guys who they expected to have three more, at least one more game together. There was so many different storylines with Garth finishing up, you guys going for your
Oh
your,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
your fourth in 5 years. Even like U of T had battled to get there, hadn't been there in however many years, led by John Barrett,
Hmm.
who played at Manitoba. You had, Pascal Clément, who was finishing up at Laval. There's all these different storylines and all of these people that, it just would have been nice to kind of see that finished up. Do you ever like? Do you guys like? For me, when I think of kind of some of the best teams in U Sport history, you guys are right up there with the best of them. Do you think that about that team as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, I would bet on our team 10 times out of 10 just because I just yeah, I love those guys and I'm so confident how well we play together and um yeah, I would just like love to take on any U Sport team. I wish there was a way to simulate that or something.
Like if we're talking about Trinity Western Spartans 2020 against Trinity Western Spartans 2012, you know,
Oh yeah.
like that is, I remember Benjo posted something on Instagram and it was something like, name a better starting six. Oh wait, and it was a picture of you guys. And I like, sent him the starting six from 2012 and he's like, honestly, that's one of the biggest reasons why I'm sad that championship didn't go down, because I wanted to be able to kind of compare those two teams, because yeah, the way that you guys dominated last year, or, I mean over the course of your 5 years there, um, I would love to see a simulation of your team against that 2012 team, because I think that would be a banger of a match.
I know, man. I think it'd be crazy. Like the only yeah, like yeah, it'd be crazy. I wish there was a way to simulate it or something, but it's the only thing that would be different, I think, is just like those guys were just like such a good like blocking team, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were so solid. And like just naturally I think have a faster offense just because the style of the game that is today and like a faster pipe. So that would be really interesting like to match up with their blocking. Um another team I think that's slept on a lot is the 2016, 2017 Trinity team. Um, with like Schreimer, Slater, Shearhorn, Betcher, Pierce, Mead, Bergen. Like I think that's a solid squad. and would take a lot of teams for the run into.
Was that
But
Saskatchewan? Where did you guys win, or was that? Did you guys win that at
that was
Alberta?
Alberta.
Yeah, at Alberta.
That was Alberta.
Okay. I wasn't there
Yeah,
for national. I don't think I saw you guys play at all that year because I wasn't there for nationals. I was at Ryerson for the women's. Um,
right.
so I that was you're right when you talk about that roster. That's another good one. But I can't attest to that because I didn't really see it with my own eyes. So if you say so,
No.
I'll throw that team in there.
It's tough though because you gotta like I was a first year then, so I was essentially like the worst spiker out there on the court.
I
Like there was
mean,
like Blake and Slater. There was Blake and Slater, and I was like a rookie, and like
okay, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, so I think that's like people like don't remember like okay, like these teams lined up, but like what where were they in their cycle? Um, so that'd be it'd be cool, man. You should try to figure out some simulation or
Here's
I don't know.
another hypothetical that you may or may not like. What happens if Eric Loeppky isn't sick during the national championships in 2018?
Oh man. Uh,
Because I
I don't
I
know,
don't
man.
know how many people know this about how sick you were. Like I remember like Trinity is getting ready to go do hitting warm up, and Joel Jantz looks at me. He's like, "I'm going to get Lepke right now," and I'm just like, "Dude, that's crazy." And you still played the match. You still had a great match. But like what do you think happens there if you don't get sick?
I don't know. I honestly like hate being like I don't like excuses, but um I think for sure we win a set. Like we don't get 3-0, but UBC was a really good team that year.
Yeah, 100%.
It
And
would have been nice.
this isn't to take anything
Yeah.
away from UBC. That was a very very talented
Yeah.
UBC team who was very very well coached. And I think I remember saying it
Yeah.
from the beginning of the season that year that if there was one team that was designed to beat Trinity Western, it was UBC because they just served absolute
Oh yeah.
bombs and then they just played, they had a
Mm-hmm.
good offense after that. But still, it would have been an interesting to see what would have happened had you been completely healthy for that game.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah. I just wish I would have had just more in the tank, I think, because I didn't play the quarters and I like kind of suited up for the semis and I was like so drained after the semis. Like I felt like I had to use all my energy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I was still like recovering from a lot of the symptoms, like antibiotics weren't fully kicking in. So, but yeah, I don't know. I don't want to be the guy being with excuses. It would have been cool to see though.
Yeah, it would have been. When you were growing up, like when you started playing for Windman, did you always wanted to go to Trinity, or was that something that kind of came later on?
I wanted to go to Trinity when I heard that Adam Schreimer was going to Trinity when I was in grade 9 and he
Okay.
was in grade 12 because I wanted to be Adam Schreimer. I was in grade 9 and I was a setter and I had long hair like him. And I heard he was going to Trinity and I was like, oh man, I want to go to Trinity. That would be unreal. But then I'm like, I'm doing the math. Then I have to sit behind him for 2 years because I was still thinking of myself as a setter. But that's the first time I thought of Trinity as an option, and it was always kind of a dream. Um, and then, yeah, and then things happened, but
Um,
for sure it would have been grade 9.
oh, that's crazy that Adam Schreimer. And then what was it like afterwards when you got to play with Schreimer? Did you got to Trinity
Oh,
and like cut your hair like him again and stuff like that and start putting your socks on like he did too? Buying the same shoes he did. I mean, I guess you guys at Trinity, you guys always had all the same shoes regardless. So
yeah. No, I think I was a spiker then, so I was maybe trying to imitate Blake and Slater a bit more. But it was a dream come true to play with Adam. I remember like those first couple weeks of training at Trinity, it's just like so surreal. Like like, man, well, they were the defending champs and like a couple like national final MVPs, and I was like, oh, this is like unreal. Like, I'm just so pumped to play with these guys, and then you like end up becoming friends and like best friends with them. So it's pretty funny how that worked. Like, there's a funny story actually when I would have been nationals 2016 in Edmonton. Benjo was there scouting. That was the first time I talked to him. I was like spiking on my wingman team, but I was still like the backup setter and was setting in warm-ups and would set a couple rotations.
So wait, the first time you talked to Benjo was 18U?
No, this was 20. Sorry, I'm getting the dates mixed up. This was 2014.
Okay, yeah. I
2014.
was gonna say, I was like, there's no way that you were like
Yeah.
Benjo, who is one of the best recruiters in the game, was only talking to you in 18U. Okay, yeah, 14U, 2014.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
2014, I was grade 10.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but Adam was there also like helping Ben, I guess, like scout. And I remember them watching my games, and I didn't realize I was doing this, but they told me this. Like, every time I would like make a play or something, I would like look at Adam kind of like to see his reaction. Um, yeah, I don't remember it too much, but I could totally like remember like watching Adam, and like I was so pumped he was there to watch. But that was the first time Ben talked to me too, so it was a special weekend.
Wow, 14U nationals in Edmonton. Eh? Did you guys win those ones too?
Sorry, this was 17U Nationals in 2014.
Okay, yeah, 17U, you're right. 17U nationals in 2014, not 14U nationals. Yeah. If he was recruiting you at 14U nationals, that's maybe another story altogether.
Um,
But yes, that makes
yeah,
sense because
I was like 5'3".
did were you did you guys win that year too? Was Larry your coach?
It was just Mike that year, and we lost. We lost in the semis to LVC. With they won that year.
Yeah, they did. That's when they
Yeah.
had like Sebastian Lethbridge and James Jackson
Hmm.
and Andre Foreman. That was a good team.
Yeah, they were solid. They were really good.
You know, you mentioned Sclater and Shearhorn. Obviously, there's a bunch of your guys like Ashenko and Kern are playing on the same team. Do you follow all of your Trinity guys who are playing around the world?
Yeah, I try to, especially the guys that I played with. I just watched uh, Kern and Pierce play the other day against the Nets Hoppers.
Well,
Um,
that was a tough one.
and yeah, that was a tough one. But I try to watch when I can. Like, obviously, sometimes I'm playing and sometimes it doesn't work out, but I for sure like follow along or watch Slate on volumetrics or something. So yeah, I try to watch.
Because I mean, you guys are. I think looking through it, there's 8 Spartans currently playing professionally, which is actually a low number. There was one year it was 16.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Like, is there ever like a Spartans alumni games? Like, is there ever just where Benjo just opens the gym and the Spartans come in? Because I feel like that's the games that you want to get into.
Yeah, the tough thing is like the seasons like are so overlapped.
Yeah.
And then when guys like aren't actually from there, it's like hard for them to be there. But definitely like throughout, like I remember like when Delbs was playing, he would often be out in BC, and then he would train with us before he'd leave for pro. Um, like Steve Marshall has been in our gym a lot. Rudy, um, JVD was, I think, this past year. I
Mm-hmm.
missed him a little bit. Ben Ball is amazing at 2v2.
At 2v2.
Um, yeah, he's a big 2v2 guy. So I guess those have been the best. Oh, but we had that alumni game for a fundraiser like a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Slater was like for some reason back and he played. Um, so it was like he was one of the only actually pro guys playing, but then like Ben Ball played, Jared Offrins. I think Schreimer was on the other side because he was his fifth year, so he like went over there as like an alumni. Um, yeah, that was really fun.
Wow, what a star-studded alumni game. Like other alumni games, you guys got like other guys like coming out of the woodwork, and who haven't played ball in years. And for the Spartans, you guys got current pro and national team guys.
Yeah, yeah. There was definitely some guys who came out. I don't remember their names, but they played with like Ben, Joe, and Joel back in the days, and they were like suiting up. So that was sweet too. So there's a good mix.
That's great. The guys who are in there for just a few plays, because if they're in there for any more, they might get injured.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, over the summer, something happened for you. You got married. Congratulations.
Yes.
That
Thank you.
Obviously huge event. She's also a volleyball player. Samantha Seliger-Swenson. She played for Minnesota, if I'm correct. If I'm correct.
Yes.
Yeah, and she's currently playing in the Athletes Unlimited Pro League. What's it been like, first be in the married life, but also have a pro volleyball player as your spouse?
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's been sweet having her with me over here overseas, and she played a year last year in France, so she's been like super helpful with like adjusting to the first year stuff and growing pains. But yeah, she's a stud volleyball player for any of you who don't know. Like she's amazing, 4-time All-American, setter of the year twice, Big Ten champs twice. So the list goes on for her, and it's sweet to watch her play again because I hadn't watched her play since last season, and it's just like I'm like, man, like she's balling out like every game. She's playing like sick. So yeah, I've been loving watching her there, and I think she's really enjoying it too, like able to play again. It's a really cool thing that they've got going on down there, and I really hope it continues. Just for like growth of the sport in North America, I think it's huge. But yeah, she's loving it. I love watching her, and yeah, we got married over the summer. We were planning to get married this summer, but because of COVID and everything, we just thought it was best. And we're so thankful that we did, just because of all the travel laws and regulations right now. So it's been a huge blessing, and yeah.
That's crazy. Now, I mean, do we need to start having talks about nationality now? Like, is she going to become Canadian? Like, is this what's going to happen? Because she also she also is in the American women's national team system. So like, is there going to be a bit of a rivalry going on here? Because like, we need to make sure that your allegiances hold true here, Eric.
I know we joke about it all the time. I know. I don't think I could leave my country like that. The only way I would do it would be to play on the AVP one day. That would be a dream of mine.
Okay. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Is this a career path that like you're seriously considering? Like, I'm gonna play indoor for a while, and then after a little bit I'm gonna play beach. Like, maybe not national team, like grinding it on the FIVB tour with no Team Canada support, but playing some beach here and there, maybe some AVPs.
Yeah, I think that would be a huge dream. Like I love beach. It was my first love. So I would love to play for sure, and train. I don't know when, like it's not like I'm gonna just like pack it in like in a year and start pursuing beach or anything, but it would definitely be cool. Like I know Kame Chalk's been doing that. Like he's actually on the American team now, right?
Yeah, he unfortunately, his first outing as the U.S. beach player didn't go too well. They lost in qualifications in Qatar, so kind of get to go all the way to Qatar to lose for his first time. I mean, Kame it just shows that he really just should have stayed Canada, but Obviously, I'm joking. I fully support Kane's decision to go play for the U.S. Go actually make some money.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's interesting.
yeah,
Here's a question for you, because obviously the financial difference between playing beach volleyball as a Canadian compared to playing indoor volleyball as a Canadian is significantly different. If
yeah.
if there was a bit of a different financial incentive, where you could actually support yourself and make a little bit of money playing beach, would it be a more serious consideration for you?
I think so. Like, I think like the problem with it, and like why I think it's so understanding that Kane left and joined the US, is because their funding and carding and all that stuff and sponsorships is just way better for the beach. Um, but then like it's just super hard to, like, okay, like you think like theoretically I start beach, I'm like, okay, like I got to make sure I got some money saved up, and then I got to actually start doing well to actually like make it in this thing. So it's hard to like really map it out, I think, because you gotta like be all in. So I think it's honestly a safer play playing indoor. You're like, okay, I got my contract signed. I know I'm gonna get paid this much. Um, and like you can make a decent living playing and not be even like a national team stud now.
Hmm.
Like there's a lot of players playing overseas, like living good lives, who aren't even playing national team anymore. So yeah, I just think the appeal financially to the Canadian beach system is really tough.
Yeah, I agree. I was having some conversation with some people about it recently, just as beach gets started again, and it's interesting because when I look at youth beach volleyball in Canada, it's such a thriving scene. And like you played
Yeah.
beach, Shawan played beach. Like, and you look at the majority of the top players who are coming up through the junior indoor system. They've all played beach volleyball, but none of them see that as a serious pathway, because it's not presented as a serious pathway here in Canada. And the guys who have had to do it have really had to grind for it all. The guys and the girls. Sorry, I shouldn't just say the one, because it's difficult for the both. But speaking of the national team, obviously this year we're coming up to the Olympic Games. You have you've appeared a little bit with the senior national team. Obviously, in my eyes, there is always a view that you would kind of become, maybe not a focal point, but maybe a more full time member this year, given that the Olympics would have been last year. What I'm guessing,
Mhm.
like, before we get there, are you going to be going back to join the national team once all this is done?
Yeah, I'm hoping to. I'm hoping um I know that VNL, the news comes out, I think pretty soon. It's supposed to have come out already, but they postponed it. Um, but yeah, I'm hoping to get in the gym with the guys and just kind of grind and work as hard as I can all summer. And yeah, I'm pretty certain that I'll get some time with VNL, just because even like with Riley Barnes stepping out now, I think there's just, and yeah, so I'm really hoping to get some time with VNL and then just kind of see where the summer takes me and work as hard as I can. Um, like hoping, I don't know exactly how many guys they're gonna be allowed to have in the gym with all the regulations.
Mm-hmm.
So um, yeah,
Are the Olympics something that's on your radar as a potential eventuality for this summer?
absolutely. Like I think you gotta bet on yourself, and I'm gonna like do everything I can to go. But if I don't make it, I know that I probably don't deserve to go. So I'm just gonna do everything I can, and if not, then I'm just gonna get ready for the next one and do everything I can for that one. So yeah, just gonna take it one day at a time.
Obviously, you mentioned before you were part of the junior program a number of years ago now, and you've come up through the Canadian national team system. But now it's finally kind of your turn to put on that jersey and be one of the guys. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's exciting. I can kind of see like you can kind of like now see like okay, like these guys are maybe going to be done after this cycle, and there's going to be some kind of positions opened up. So it's going to be really exciting to see the new wave in, like just like it was 4 years ago in 2017 when a bunch of those kind of young guys stepped up and had a big summer. Um, I'm hoping that there's going to be kind of that same thing that happens again, and I'm really excited. And I hope I can be one of the leaders and one of the guys at the forefront playing. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and we'll see what happens.
So that's something that like already you have identified that you want to be kind of one of the leaders of the national team. That's I mean, to be perfectly honest, I feel like if it was coming from anyone else but you, I would kind of be like, "Oh, those are big statements." But I feel like if anyone was to make that statement, it would be you.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I don't want to set the bar low. I wanna go for it. So I think when I mean that, I'm thinking more like next cycle, like this next. I guess it's only 3 years away now, which is kind of weird, even though.
Well, that's exactly it, right? We're only 3 years
Yeah.
away from 2024. So I mean, in my eyes,
Hmm.
it's great that you've got that kind of like let's go get it attitude because that's exactly what we're gonna need, even if you're not a part of the squad. Personally, the way I look at it, I if I were to pick, which I have no, say in this whatsoever, for me it would be down to kind of
Yeah.
between you and Duraco. And there's
Right.
different pros and cons to bringing either or, and you know, thankfully this isn't my decision to make. Thankfully that's Glenn's decision to make, and we trust him to make that one. But for VNL, it looks like it's going to be another bubble system. Like I think it's like 5 weeks of
Hmm.
of, of bubble VNL. And like VNL is really a place that you can like make a name for yourself on the international stage. Is that
Hmm.
something that you're aware of and you're planning on doing?
Yeah, I think it's such a cool like set of games just for such high quality volleyball. Um, and just to really like get not just like one chance, but a lot of chances to play and play some really good teams. Um, so yeah, I'm hoping just to go in, like just dialed in, focused, and just kind of try to do my thing. Not like I don't want to put too high expectation on it, but just try to kind of play my game and show the international world kind of what I got.
What is your game? Like if you had to like break down Eric Loeppky volleyball for me.
Hmm. I think my game is. I don't think I'm the best at really anything. I just think I'm good at a lot of things. Um, I think I'm just, yeah, I would say just an all around player who is creative and um, aggressive and just kind of goes for it and takes rips and tries shots and plays hard, and just hopefully that I can keep building on that. Yeah, I wouldn't call myself like I'm like, oh, I'm just a sweet spiker at this, or I think I'm just an all around well-rounded player, and that's kind of what I think that comes from my like background of beach, to be honest. Um,
Is that where you
and I
get
think
the fakey tip?
no, that's not from beach, but I think maybe like with like could be a little bit with the creativity and shots, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think? I don't really even know the answer.
I think that's pretty apt. You're very good all around. I think we talked about it before. You're patient, and that allows you to see the game at a slower level. Maybe almost kind of like Wayne Gretzky, but I feel like that's like putting on like a big title
I wish.
amongst us Canadians. But I mean, I think that it's hard because we have this Discord chat with Volleyball Source, and we've got fans from all over the
Right.
place, but predominantly Canadian ones, and they call that the Lepke now. Um,
No way.
yeah, the kind of the swing, and whenever you do it now in Italy, someone always clips it out. They're always like, Loeppky's doing the Loeppky again. Um, but yeah, like
That's cool.
for me, it's always been a like you're very much right. Like if I compare Stephen Marr, for example, where so just so you know, you had the second best season all time for a rookie Canadian in the SuperLega. Only Marr beat you in points, but I mean, you still did pretty good, like 16th in scoring with 284 points, averaging 3.38 points a game. But like you're not like Marr in the sense like Marr is a very physical hitter. Whereas you, as we talked about a
Yeah.
little bit earlier, you're patient and you have the shots. But for me, was always was how well you executed in those tough moments. Like I think
Hmm.
the one of the weirdest games I've ever watched you play was that Long Beach game that we mentioned before, because you guys actually played pretty poorly in that match.
Yeah.
Overall, that game was maybe one of the worst games I've ever seen like that Trinity Western team play. And like
Yeah.
there was clutch moments in that match where you guys could have finished it earlier, and you could have finished it earlier and you didn't, and that was a rare thing. Like to me, it's
Hmm.
always been your execution in like kind of like the clutch that has always put you ahead of everyone else.
Hmm. Thanks, man. Um, yeah, that Long Beach game. I just don't think we should have gone to five, and that was a tough game for us. I'm
Yeah.
glad we won, but
I mean,
that was really tough.
didn't you go to France right before that to see Sam?
Yeah, yeah, I did. Yeah, I went to France. I flew home on Christmas Eve and then flew to Toronto on the 26th. And then, yeah, and then we just weren't ready to play. But then kind of after that first, like, I think it almost got all the nerves out and all the rust off for that game. And then we played pretty well the next two.
Yeah, I would say that it's almost frustrating because I've talked to Americans about it before, and they'd be like, I don't really think Trinity's that good. They beat Long Beach, but they had to go to five, and like Long Beach was not what the year before, and it's hard for me to be like, oh well, they just played a bad game, but like it truly was
Yeah.
like one of the worst games that you guys have played. You guys just had a tough time executing. I mean, I think it also to note that your head coach wasn't there either. Ben Joe was with the women's national
Yeah.
team, so there was a lot of factors into that.
Yeah. Honestly, like, I think like Lewis is really good, or they were that tournament. Like they were solid.
Hmm.
I think that was I remember like that first set was some of like the best ball we played all season, and it was a close game. Um,
All season, really.
so like just like as in like how like we competed and we were like just like we were so dialed that game, I think. Um, because they were big and they were physical and they like played really well and really fast for a big team. Um, just from what my personal perspective, I thought like that, especially that first set was one of our better sets of the season.
Wow, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. I can't remember. Did I call that one?
Yeah,
Maybe not. I can't remember.
I don't remember.
That was one of your guys' few games that you didn't play in the prime time slot. But yeah, that's interesting that you think that Lewis was one of your best sets of the season. I mean, then you guys had that was a crazy tour for you guys, because I don't think many people know, but you played multiple matches after that too, because you had to go play at Brock and then you had to
Yeah.
play at McMaster twice.
Oh yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, we won't.
Yeah,
Sorry, go
we
ahead.
don't have to dive into that, but
No.
I was I think that was a huge not having Benjo there maybe factor
Do
because
you
we were just
go ahead?
I was just gonna say we were just so like dialed to play like four Ben and like without him and for that Can Am. But then after we were like just kind of like, oh, that was sweet. We played awesome. And then we were just like could not get it together. Like, oh, we need Ben. Like, this is bad. Um, so that's just kind of my thoughts on it.
I still remember standing talking to Joel Jansen after the game because I did the commentary on the stream, and you guys are stretching, and like your guys look dog tired. Like you guys are just done. So you can tell that you guys want to go home, and I'm talking to Joel, and he's kind of like, yeah, like we're tired, blah blah blah. Same thing. He's like, I don't want to make excuses, but like there's this and this and this, and then all of a sudden I see his phone start going off, and like I couldn't see, but it was just like walls of text, everything in capital from Ben Joe, just getting so upset that you guys lost to McMaster. Did you guys hear it from him going back to practice after that one?
You know what? I don't even remember. Yeah, I think because it was like he was still pumped about how he played, I think, at Can-Am.
That's true.
But so once we got back in the gym with him, it was kind of like, okay, this was what we did awesome. This is what we didn't do, like, at all about these games. We're just going to maybe flush those, get those kind of out of our heads, and then get back to work. That's kind of what I remember.
How good of a coach? You've obviously you haven't had many experiences outside of playing for him, but you have a little bit of year now, and in what is quote unquote the best league in the world. How good of a coach is Ben Joe now after you spent some time outside of that program?
He's the best coach that I've ever had. Yeah, just he's amazing. He does such a good job of, like, just in all aspects. Like, he's an amazing recruiter. He's amazing with young guys. He's amazing with old guys. He's amazing with, like, technical, like teaching you this, but also like mental stuff, with also like running the team and like gelling the team and finding like our identity every year. He's just so good at like so many aspects. And I often, like, I still get him to coach me while I'm here. Like, I'm like, what did you like? I'm struggling with this. Can you check this out? And he'll be like, yeah, for sure. Like, oh, I think you're maybe like try crossing over here a little bit more. What do you think of your defensive split right now? Just like he's just so great. And the different thing about pro is what I found too. This is another lesson. It's just like you kind of have to coach yourself a bit more than you did at uSports. Like, you're coming out of high school and club, and you still have a lot of things to learn technically. And like Ben focused on those a lot. And in pro, they don't care what you do technically. They just want you to perform and do well. So you kind of have to be mindful of what is going on technically, like to look for things and to kind of coach yourself technically so that you can perform and kind of do well at your job, essentially. So, but getting back to your question, yeah, Ben Joe's an amazing coach. I think he is, yeah, like he's just such a, like, there's not many coaches like him. Like I just, yeah, obviously I'm biased because I played for him for 4 years, but
you're definitely a part of that Trinity Western cult for sure.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think all the Trinity guys would say that, and all the like guys who went to Mac or Alberta would say that probably about their coach. So that's understandable. But
I mean, as you know what, like here's my thought about it, and I've been thinking about it recently, is that because we don't have a pro league in Canada, right? Like these guys are, like Dave Preston and Ben Josephson, Terry Daniluk, Brock Davidic, like these are our guys, and women, of course. We've got plenty of good female coaches as well.
Oh, yeah.
Those are professional level coaches in my eyes. Like these are coaches who could coach professionally overseas. Actually, we're seeing that in the Danish league there's some Canadian coaches who are going on over there, and those are guys who have, been assistant coaches in uSports or been head coaches in the CCAA. So, like I've always been intrigued to think of like if Ben Joe, if someone like the Ben Joe or Dave Preston, somebody of that pedigree was coaching overseas, like how good would they do? I don't think it would ever really happen, because I think for a good team to invest into a coach. Like they're going to need like a pedigree and they're going to need something to have done. So it's either
Yeah.
like you've coached the national team to like international medals or like nothing. But like
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting because I truly think that, you know, some of the best coaches in Canada are among the best coaches in the world.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like for sure, like all those coaches you named are like professional level coaches. Like, and that's yeah, it's interesting too because that for them it is a profession for them. Like they get paid for it, but it's not like a pro league. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and from my experience, like for sure, these guys could do great things here. Like really good things here. So that's all I got to say for it. But I totally agree with you.
That'd be interesting. You know, if you had the opportunity to play like similar to your wife in an American in a North American pro league and make a little bit less money, would you do it?
I think it would depend like where I'm at in life. Like right now, probably no. Like it wouldn't make sense, I think, especially if it was like a 5 week season like
Mm-hmm.
this one. But maybe like down the road, like kind of a cool way to like taper out of volleyball.
A
Um,
little bit of
I
AU, a
think,
little bit of AVP, you know, balance it out a bit.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Now you're talking. So yeah, I think so. And also depends like I think it's super cool that Larson was able to play in China and still play in this league. So maybe if your league lines up, if they do it a little later in the spring or something, it could really work to do both.
What about AVP grass? AVP just announced that they're going to be doing a grass tour. Could we see
I
Eric?
saw that.
Could we see like, you know, maybe some Trinity boys round together a bit of a grass team? Like that would be gnarly.
That'd be unreal. Do you know it's just happening all summer? Like how long is the grass tour?
I'm not sure. It's something that I chatted with Donald's son, the owner of the AVP at the 2019
Mm-hmm.
AVP championships in Chicago, and he was telling me, he was like, we really want to get into grass then, and you know, he was saying that he was open to getting into Canada too, but I would assume that I think grass volleyball in the States is a little bit bigger. Like if you've ever heard of Wellpaca, it's a bit
Oh
more
yeah.
of a festival. Like it's a bit more for like a
Yeah.
lot of courts to be played, and then but you know like grass volleyball, like 3-on-3 or 4-on-4, that can be really exciting to watch.
It's really fun. I actually played in my first grass tournament over like during the quarantine period when I was in Minneapolis. I played with Sam and one of her teammates, her old teammates and her boyfriend. It was super fun. I was like, because you in Canada at least, you think of grass, you think of like beach as like, yeah, legit, and then
Mm-hmm.
you think of grass as like at like a backyard barbecue or something.
Right?
But like grass was legit. Like I'm like, man, people are like going hard like here. There's so many courts. They're like playing in shoes and got ankle braces and like are taping up and like really taking this seriously. And I just like was playing in like barefoot the whole day. And I ended up like just like my feet hurt so bad for like 3 days after because I just wasn't prepared for it. We ended up winning, which was great, but
I
it
mean, I
was
would expect that you guys would be winning. You know, if you're not winning, then
yeah,
that's questionable.
it was close though. It was really close. And the rules for this, like I think the rules for grass in general, I don't know what they are, but this one was like anyone can spike. So it was like basically no rotations, and it was like guy on the left, guy on the right, girl setter, and like girl defender, and it was just like spiking. Like I would just I was playing right side and just pass
Crushing
and
it.
set the whole time. It was pretty fun.
That
Yeah.
that sounds sweet.
But my wife did play in Wapaka too, and she said it's like such a cool environment, like so many like teams. So it'd be a cool thing to set up in Canada and get going.
What about snow volleyball? Like,
Oh man, that
can we pencil like Eric
that'd be
Loeppky in
crazy.
like 2036 Team Canada snow volleyball? Like you're from Manitoba, dude. Like you can't be scared of snow or cold. being from where you're from.
I know. Should I just try to be that guy who just like plays every type of volleyball there is and just
I
sees how
mean,
far he can go?
eventually, like do a bit of a Jiba. That's what I'm calling the Jiba tour. Like Jiba's done some beach
Okay.
now. He's doing some snow volleyball. I'm sure he'll jump into grass, right? So have a bit of a legendary
Yeah.
career like Jiba. Win a couple of Olympic games. Maybe a few
Okay.
world leagues, a world championship or two, a Champions League maybe, and then come on back and we'll hook you up with the snow volleyball and the grass volleyball.
Yeah, maybe I'll start a snow volleyball league back in Winnipeg once I'm retired. You
Oh,
know,
there we
that'll be
go.
yeah. The problem is I feel like I see all the snow volleyball events, they're on like some like where it's like snowy but not freezing, whereas in Winnipeg it's just freezing.
Yeah, that's
So
true. It's always like in the villages of ski resorts where it's probably like 5 degrees
yeah,
out, and everyone's just hanging around with their hot chocolates and beers, glasses of wine for après ski, and it's nice. But I don't think
yeah,
I don't think the prairies of Manitoba at minus 25 degrees Celsius would be would be a good time to play
yeah.
to play snow volleyball.
Oh man, and the wind chill too. I don't even know if it could you could get a rally going with the winds, man. It'd
Probably
be
not.
crazy.
Do you have any time to go back to Winnipeg?
I haven't been back there since I left. Um, we were there for a couple of weeks before I came to Italy, but because I was mostly down in the States with Samantha for quarantine, and I
Okay.
didn't want to come back to Canada because I didn't know if I could go back down there. So, um, yeah, I haven't been back there since August. I'm hoping to go there, maybe before, like if I have to quarantine at home, I would love to be able to do that in Steinbach, but we'll see. It's kind of all up in the air right now, just because I don't really know where VNL is, when I'm going to be done here exactly, and what kind of regulations they're going to have for us coming back.
Has there been any communication from Volleyball Canada? Like, are you guys going to be going to Gatineau for a little bit training there, or?
Yeah, I think they're just really waiting to see where VNL is. Um, I know they're trying. I know like the people are talking to the government about like maybe shortening our quarantine somehow, just because like 2 weeks is a lot to give up for us for that training. Like if you're coming back May 1st, you got to quarantine 2 weeks and then you get like a couple days of training before you leave for VNL. Like it's not ideal. So I think that's been in the works, but I think more we'll kind of find out about that once the actual location is announced and the dates exactly.
Dude, that's crazy because that's like something that I've like only thought about a little bit. I figured by this time, we wouldn't still have a 2 week quarantine period. It's
I know.
it's a little much. Like, especially
Yeah.
yeah, because especially imagine that like coming into Canada. Like at that point, I wonder if it's better just for Canada to find like a neutral training spot. For VC to just find like a neutral training spot to
Yeah.
just like, hey, we're gonna train in like in like who knows, Italy, like just for example, because like we can get
Yeah.
everyone in and we don't have to quarantine and stuff like that. I mean, at the same time, it's kind of hard to think that the Canadian government would allow stuff for the men's national volleyball team when the Raptors and the NHL teams aren't even getting, any type of help in this situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, right? So there was actually like some rumors maybe that we'd go to Izmir and do training camp there, but I don't know if that would actually happen. Could be sick.
That would be sick. Maybe if that's the case, I'll call up Lewis and Glenn and see if I can come hang out in Izmir with you guys
Yeah.
preparing for World League and the Nations League and the Olympics, because that would be a training camp in Izmir would be something else. I bet it would be
Oh
crazy.
yeah.
Well, dude, I really can't thank you enough for taking the time to chat with me today. It looks like you're doing well. It was a lot of fun to get to watch you play this season. yeah, keep grinding and keep throwing it down over there. How much longer you say you got in the season? A few more weeks?
Probably about a month minimum, and maybe like month and a half max. Kind of really depends how we do in this Challenge Cup. So, um, but thanks, man. This was awesome. It was great to chat to you. It's been too long, and yeah, this was great.
Yeah, hopefully we get to do the
Maybe I'll
next.
see you in Izmir.
Yeah, maybe. And then if you guys are in Gatineau, maybe in Gatineau too, because gotta catch up with the Maple Volleys at some point. The last time I saw them was Vancouver last year, and I mean that was a great moment. So
Right.
we gotta follow that up.
Absolutely, man. We'll make it
Awesome,
happen.
awesome. Well, thanks very much, dude. Go get some rest. Be safe the rest of the season, and we'll see you in a Team Canada jersey very soon. Awesome.
Thanks, Everett. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Thanks a lot, guys.